Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Michelle Fondin and I'm the author of many books, two of which will help for this video. This is the Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda, an easy guide to a healthy lifestyle. This helps describe all of the Ayurvedic doshas or mind-body types. It's available in paperback, Kindle, and Audible books. I'm also the author of Enlightened Medicine, Your Power to Get Well Now, that has details on many of these herbs and nutritional supplements that we're going to speak about today. Today we are talking about boosting your immune system with Ayurveda herbs, food, and nutritional supplements. This can help with allergies, colds, and flus. Now, you might be wondering, what makes you the expert? I've been an Ayurvedic practitioner for 12 years, and I have treated a lot of clients in Ayurvedic health, preventive health, and also curative health. One thing I want you guys to keep in mind, this is our disclaimer, that this is not intended to be medical advice at all. If you do have a medical condition, please consult the appropriate medical healthcare practitioner. And if you are pregnant, breastfeeding, or have a pre-existing condition, please do check in with your healthcare practitioner before you start any nutritional supplements. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Please subscribe below, click on that bell, scroll up to all for all notifications, and give the video a thumbs up. For this video, we're going to go from general to specific, and I will put the timestamps below if you're interested in clicking on a specific part of this video. What are we talking about here, guys? We're talking about boosting your immune system. Now, you might be wondering, how can I boost my immune system? Now, when we're talking about boosting your immune system, we're talking about preventive health. We're talking about preventing disease from being able to start in the first place. In specific, in this video, we are talking about boosting your immune system for things like allergies, viruses, and bacteria, but more specifically for colds and flu. Colds and flu tend to be more of a Kapha disorder. Kapha is one of the Ayurvedic mind-body types, and Vata types also tend to be pretty susceptible to colds and flus, while Kapha types tend to be susceptible to allergies, which can then aggravate into things like bronchitis or asthma or secondary bacterial infections, which can also leave them susceptible to having viruses. Vata types, unfortunately, tend to be very susceptible to colds and flus, and it's just because by nature, the Vata mind-body type just happens to be the most vulnerable of the three doshas. Now, for all of these herbal supplements that I'm going to present today, if you are a Pitta type, which is comprised of fire and water, and if you're uncertain of your Ayurvedic mind-body type, please do pick up a copy of this book, and it goes over that. There's the Ayurvedic mind-body type test, as well as in-depth descriptions of each of the doshas or the Ayurvedic mind-body types. We're going to start with something general, because in order for you to grasp and fully understand why do we need to boost our immune systems and how can we boost our immune systems, because it seems very abstract, and you might have heard very specific things like, oh, I can increase my vitamin C, or take chia seeds, or acai, or adding turmeric to my coffee in the morning. But all of those things are just individual things without going into the general rule of how you boost your immune system. So one thing that I want you guys to keep in mind, that the first stage of boosting your immune system is a healthy lifestyle. You want to be consistent in how you eat and ingest foods and the kinds of foods that you ingest. So what does a healthy lifestyle comprise? Of course, in both of these books, I do talk about healthy lifestyle and how to go about that. But the number one thing is, of course, eating plenty of fruits, vegetables, whole grains that are organic. And that is the rule number one, is eating as many organic foods as possible. Here's why: because the immune system is designed to fight off disease. It's also designed to purify the body and get rid of toxins. Now, if you are eating a lot of conventional food, which is non-organic food, you are piling in the toxins via pesticides and herbicides that are left in the foods that you consume, because conventional growers, whether you're eating meat, where the cows or the pigs are fed, feed with pesticides and herbicides, and usually antibiotics as well. Or the eggs, same thing, like in the feed of the chickens that lay the eggs. And high fatty foods especially absorb a lot of those toxins in the way of pesticides and herbicides. Just like you wouldn't go to Home Depot, open up a fertilizer that you would put in your garden and start eating it. In the same way, you want to make sure that your food is as pure as possible so that you're not ingesting all of those chemicals, because the problem with that is that it does tax your immune system. Well, your immune system is trying to do things like digest food and decide like what is real food to be digested and infused into the tissues for nutrition and what other stuff needs to be discarded. When it gets an overload of toxins from the food that you're eating, it really compromises that immune system. So eating organically as much as you possibly can. And I always say, and in this book, I really talk about a lot about organic foods, and I talk about how it's worth the investment. It really is worth the investment, because not to mention that the pesticides and herbicides that are runoff water from the fields, that ends up going into our water. It's the circle of life kind of thing. So eating as pure foods as possible. The second thing is, of course, eating foods that come from the earth. That's why you want to stay away as much as you can from prepackaged foods and cooking at home, or just eating holistic foods, staying away from leftovers as much as possible, because the breakdown of the leftovers as far as the decomposition allows that bacteria to come in to decompose of those foods. And again, when you ingest that, you're taxing your system with a whole lot more than it really needs to be taxed with. Rule number 2 is you want to keep that lymphatic system healthy. Again, in Enlightened Medicine, I talk a lot about the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system, its job is to filter out those toxins. And now, lymphatic system is part of your immune system, and its job is to filter out those toxins, and the toxins actually are moved into what we call lymph nodes. So if you've ever noticed that when you have a cold or a flu or tonsillitis or strep throat or something like that, you notice that the glands, I call them the glands, those are lymph nodes, the glands are swollen. You might find them swollen here, you might find them swollen underneath your armpits. You might look inside and see your tonsils and adenoids swollen, and those are lymph nodes. We need to keep our lymphatic system flowing, and what better way to keep our lymphatic system flowing is through deep breathing, yoga, running, walking, movement. Movement is really the only way that we are going to keep our lymphatic system healthy. Why? Because the lymphatic system does not have circulation on its own. It counts on your movement to move those toxins through. And through things like sweat glands, right? You're going to purge out the impurities. You're purging out the impurities. Now, another thing that really helps your immune system and helps to boost your immune system, of course, is getting adequate sleep. Ayurveda recommends going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time every single morning. And I know, especially now, if you're viewing this in April of 2020, pretty much globally, most people are quarantined and therefore perhaps not having a set schedule. You need to put yourself on a set schedule, because it's at night that your immune system is at work repairing cells and fighting off infection and just helping you generally stay healthy. Ayurveda recommends going to bed between 10 and 10:30 p.m. every single night and getting up right before 6 a.m. every single morning. Now, depending on your Ayurvedic mind-body type, you might need less or more sleep, and that is outlined too in the Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda. So get that adequate sleep, and you want to try to stay away, unless if you're ill, try to stay away from sleeping during the day as well, just at night. The next bit of advice to boost your immune system, in all honesty, is to not overeat. You want to eat at meal times, and if you want to break up your meals, if you're more of a Vata mind-body type, if you want to break up your meals between 3 and 5 meals per day, or those light snacks, or eating every 2 to 4 hours if you're a Vata type, that's perfectly fine. But Ayurveda does recommend not overeating. Overeating equals taxing your immune system. You are taxing the immune system. You are compromising the immune system. It's better almost to undereat than to overeat. The next rule of thumb, obviously, is to drink plenty of water. You want to make sure that you're hydrated to boost your immune system, because that's what we're talking about here. You want to drink, if you are a Pitta type, you want to drink water that is room temperature. And I know for the Pittas that are usually running very hot, that can seem very unpleasant, but we're talking about boosting your immune system. So room temperature if you're a Pitta type. If you are a Vata or Kapha mind-body type, you want to drink hot water. Hot water all day long. And how do you calculate that? You want to drink half the amount of water in ounces of your body weight. Therefore, if you weigh 150 pounds, you want to drink 75 ounces of water per day. And again, boosting that immune system, you want to drink hot water if you're Vata and Pitta. You'd want to drink room temperature water if you are a Pitta type. Okay, so those are some of the things that you can do. And the very last thing I want to say about that, the general lifestyle, is, of course, if you want to boost your immune system and not tax that immune system, you want to do things like stay away from drugs and alcohol and tobacco or tobacco-related products. You want to keep your body as pure and as clean as possible. Of course, what goes along with this is having a positive mental attitude. When it comes to lifestyle, you want to make sure you're doing things like a strong spiritual practice, mindfulness, and meditation on a daily basis. All of those things, a spiritual practice, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, tai chi, qigong, all of those things are going to help and boost your immune system. Now let's talk about a little bit more specific. In the Western world, it's pretty common to take things like nutritional supplements. Now, I would highly recommend, I know a lot of people are on the fence about nutritional supplements. I happen to be a large proponent of supplementation. Here's why. Our earth is rather imperfect at this time. And if you're viewing this in 2020, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We already mentioned the impurities that are in the soil, in the water, because of chemicals that are constantly being put into our soil. And because of over farming and because of non-organic farming in particular, using all those chemicals, our soil is then depleted of the vital minerals and nutrients that we actually need as human beings. That is the reason why I prefer supplementation, especially if you are after the age of 40. If you're above 40, I would say it's a good idea to use supplementation for everybody. Now, I'm going to get super simple on supplementation here to boost your immune system. If you are not sick at all, or not even have like a little sniffle. Now, when I say sick, I'm talking about symptomatic, right? You don't have to be full-blown sick. Symptomatic meaning if you suffer from allergies and you have red eyes and a runny nose and a scratchy throat because of that postnasal drip, or you're having that coughing or asthmatic symptoms, that is symptomatic. If you have a cold or flu, you know the symptoms there. So if you are starting to have symptoms, then I would say double up on what I'm going to recommend as far as supplementation. If you are asymptomatic, which means that you have no symptoms yet, but you're using this as preventive health, then go ahead and take the recommended amounts. This, very simple. This is a little packet of fizzy vitamin C. It's 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. You put it in water, you stir it with a spoon, and you drink it. When it is winter and spring, I take one of these every single day. Every day. Now, what you want to do to help boost your immune system, especially in the winter and spring, and especially if you live in a place that does not have sun, and especially if you are after 40 years old. If you're older than 40 years old, you want to, this is vitamin D3 drops. This is 2,000 IUs, international units. And I would say you're gonna take at least 10,000 international units, and it comes as drops. So it's a drop on your tongue. This one is orange flavored. Take these two together. You wanna take vitamin D3 supplementation with vitamin C supplementation. If you are asymptomatic, once a day. If you are starting to have symptoms, twice a day. So when I start to have a little sniffle or a little nose drip, I will take 2 of these, one in the morning and one in the evening. You're going to take the vitamin D3 in conjunction with the vitamin C supplements. This is a general vitamin supplement. It's a multivitamin. This one is called Solgar. I'll show it to you in a minute. Solgar Formula VM 2000. It's a multi-nutrient formula. It also has herbs in it. But this is a general supplementation so that if the food you are consuming is depleted of one of the vital nutrients, usually minerals, you guys, because our soil is so incredibly depleted of nutrients, again, because of over farming, just in general, even if you're eating organic foods, it's unfortunate. It is really unfortunate. But again, with over farming, with runoff, because even in organic farms, you are not immune to the runoff from non-organic farms that might be just next door. Again, we want to keep our immune systems healthy. We want to keep our immune systems strong. And as one of my doctors, so I have a doctor, an endocrinologist, some of you know my backstory, which is also in the books, but I have a doctor from Virginia. He's a holistic doctor as well as a medical doctor, obviously. He believes in supplementation. His name is Dr. Habib. And as Dr. Habib said, for things like viruses need a host to replicate. We are that host if you are getting a virus, but a strong host equals a virus that isn't allowed to replicate that much. Weak host? Wow, it's a feeding ground. It's a feeding frenzy for that virus or bacteria. And so you want to make the host, yourself, as strong as you possibly can. Now, if some of you might be worrying, well, what are the expenses in all of this supplementation? Just know that the cost related to supplementation is much cheaper typically than you're talking about co-pays and doctor's visits and time lost from work and the pain and suffering that comes along with it. I would say in the very least for your supplementation, vitamin C, vitamin D3 in the winter and spring months, and maybe in the fall too, just depending on where you live. And a multivitamin that is a high-grade multivitamin, providing with you vitamins, minerals, and perhaps some herbs as well. So you want to make sure, like if you want echinacea in it, that's totally fine. You want to make sure zinc is in there too, because zinc is going to keep you healthy as well. Now let's go to the more specific. And this is really my favorite part. It's my favorite part about Ayurveda or Ayurvedic medicine, because Ayurveda has been around for 5,000 years or more. at least 5,000 years. The herbs that are used according to Ayurveda have been tested throughout time. They have actually been tested throughout time, and they're effective and they work. Now just know that before modern medicine was created, and it's not very old, you guys. Modern medicine is about 250 years old. That is it. That is it. Modern medicine from start to now is about 250 years old. That is it. How long have humans been around? Humans have been around for millions of years. So what did humans do before modern medicine? People still lived, right? They still had long lives. If you study different peoples around the world, so if you study peoples in Siberia, for example, or in Japan, that even before modern medicine, there were many centenarians in many of these different areas of the world. We're looking at herbal supplements now. Because of what is happening right now, you really want to keep your immune system, especially now that it's allergy season, because we are in spring in most parts of the world, the northern hemisphere, of course. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's the fall. But we are in spring. And what you want to do is make sure that your immune system is as healthy as possible. And this is where herbal supplementation comes in, when you need to prepare your body for perhaps those little invaders, And the unfortunate piece is the double whammy. If you normally suffer from seasonal allergies, and then you're also susceptible to a virus or a bacterial infection, then you need to arm your body with a little bit extra so that you don't become ill, so that you don't become sick, so that whatever symptoms you would normally get if you suffer from seasonal allergies, it's going to be diminished. So you're not going to have as many symptoms. And you're also going to make your immune system very strong, very nice and strong. So let's explain a little bit about Ayurveda and how it works. Here's the thing is we want to strengthen all the tissues in the body. We want to strengthen the tissues, and we want those circulatory channels to be as open and healthy as possible. What are the circulatory channels? The circulatory channels are things like our veins and our arteries, but there also are, like, for example, in our respiratory systems, it is obviously everything that causes you to inhale or exhale air, right? So we're talking about the nose, the mouth, the teeth, the tongue, the lips. We're talking about the larynx. We're talking about the trachea. We're talking about the lungs, the bronchial passages, the cilia inside the lungs. And we are also talking about the digestive system, because the digestive system, since we're eating food all day long, right? We're eating and drinking. We want to make sure that those channels too are open and flowing, because, for example, when you are having a lot of mucus, let's say, again, let's go back to allergies. When you're having a lot of mucuses that are clogging up the sinuses, some of that mucus is going down into your throat, into your tummy, and into the digestive system. Now, you want to make sure that all of that is being purged out of the body. Now, how does it get purged out of the body? Any toxin, anything that your body does not need, can only be purged through the orifices in your body or through the sweat glands. The mucus in your body is not going to be purged out through the sweat glands typically. It's going to be through the nose, through the mouth, through the rectum, and really that is the way it's going to be purged out. So if any of those channels in your body are blocked, then it blocks everything up so that you are not going to be as healthy. So you're going to be more symptomatic as the body tries its hardest to purge out all the toxins. So your job in boosting your immune system is to keep those channels as open and as healthy as possible so that you can purge out all of the stuff that your body no longer needs. In Ayurveda, we call that amma. Amma is like residue, toxic residue. So you want to be able to purge out as much amma as possible. How we do this is, again, making sure that the channels are open and healthy. One of those things is making sure that you're taking herbs that are going to serve as an anti-inflammatory, because when things are inflamed too much, and inflammation is actually an immune response, but what happens with illness is that it's sometimes over-inflammation. And so you want to make sure that it goes back to like normal to low levels of inflammation if the body detects an invader. You want to take purgatives. Purgatives are going to be releasing the toxins through your colon, pretty typically. Another more extreme method that is not too well accepted in the Western world would be something called vamana, or vomiting, literally, and it's taking herbs like licorice root in a tea that would then help you to vomit. You would self-induce vomiting to help to purge out mucus that might be stuck in the bronchial passages, in the sinuses, and to help purge out some of that kapha. But for now, we're really going to talk more about antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and purgative properties. We're going to really speak about those, and it sounds really fancy, but in the end, it's going to be super simple. I promise you, this is not rocket science, you guys. I do this every single day. Not rocket science. So we're going to start with something really simple, and this is if you do suffer from allergies or colds or flus, and some of you have seen this. There are neti washes, neti pots. This is called a neti pot, and what you want to do is take the neti pot, you're going to fill it with water, filtered water, please, not tap water, filtered water, please, and a half a teaspoon of salt. Mix it up, and over a sink, you're going to pour it on one side, mouth open, head down, and then on the other side. It feels really weird the first time you do it, but this is going to help clear out your sinuses. Some of the water will go into your throat, and that's perfectly fine. Again, you're going to cough up or spit out things that you don't need, and that's going to help to keep your nasal passages clear. This is called Neti. And then nasya is something that you can do at night. Nasya is lubrication of the nostrils. Now, if you are a Vata type in specific, I would say definitely do nasya, which is lubrication of the nostrils. I have discovered that I prefer to use ghee, which is clarified butter, in the nostrils, and lately, because of the allergy season, I've been using a little bit of turmeric with the ghee, and I just take my finger, literally, you insert that in the nose, you lubricate the insides of the nostrils for nighttime. What I have noticed is that I'm a lot less inflamed in the nostrils when I wake up in the morning. A lot, which is weird. I never snored, and I never had allergies until I moved to Southern California. I lived in like swampy climates my whole life. I moved to a drier climate, and I end up getting allergies. It's just the flora and fauna here, I guess my body is not accustomed to. I noticed I started snoring, which I have never snored in my life, and using the ghee as nasya inside the nostrils with the turmeric, I notice I'm not snoring, because I would wake myself up snoring. It was very strange. You can also use organic sesame oil as nasya, or organic coconut oil as nasya as well. You can infuse the appropriate herbs. Like I said, turmeric is good actually to infuse in that, or this type of antiviral, antibacterial activity. Okay, so let's look at the concoctions that I use. And again, if dry throat, if coughing is a little bit of an issue, gargle with salt, you guys. Seriously, it helps. Ayurveda does recommend gargling with salt water. Just gargle with salt water 2 to 3 times a day. For preventive measures, here's what I use, and I'm gonna actually make this too. Take a little bowl, and I'm gonna read the properties. So there's 3 things that I put in this bowl. 1 is turmeric, 2 is not the cardamom. 2 is tulsi, which is an Ayurvedic herb, and I'm going to read the properties for each of these. And I'm using Trikatu, which is a formula. It's an Ayurvedic formula. I'll start with the Trikatu. It's called 3 peppers, and it's Pippali Indian long pepper, black pepper, and ginger. Now, if you don't have Trikatu, I would say in this formula, now this is if you're fighting off something mucousy, or you need an expectorant, or as preventive. So I am using this as a preventive, and just to keep the mucus out of my nose, my sinuses, and my chest. And it's an anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral, purgative, and expectorant. Expectorant makes you cough up mucus. That's what an expectorant does. Okay. So what I do for this formula, and the recipe will be down below, what I do is I take a 1/2 teaspoon of Tulsi. Now I'm going to read what Tulsi does. Tulsi lowers Vata and Kapha. It can increase Pitta. It's digestive, nervous, respiratory, antibacterial, antiviral, antiseptic. It also lowers fever. So I'm taking a 1/2 teaspoon of Tulsi powder. You can get this at banyanbotanicals.com, banyanbotanicals.com. I am taking about a 1/4 teaspoon of Trikatu. I'm not taking as much Trikatu as Tulsi or turmeric. So about a 1/4 teaspoon here. All right. And we're going to take a 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. Now, if you are asymptomatic, you do not have symptoms, this is preventive health. If you are asymptomatic, you are doing this once a day. Preferably, you're going to do it at night, right before bed, with a nice glass of warm water. And if you are symptomatic, starting to have symptoms, do it twice a day, twice a day. Turmeric lowers Kapha. Turmeric is a miracle drug. It can increase Vata and Pitta. It's a circulatory, digestive, respiratory, urinary, antibacterial. It's an antibiotic. Turmeric, you guys, antibiotic. This is an antibiotic. Do not use if you're pregnant or with excess Pitta, if you have jaundice or hepatitis. Okay, and then Trikatu, 3 peppers. It's for colds. It's a detoxifier, digestion, flu, fevers, cough, congestion, stimulates the appetite. Now, the next part of this formula, you cannot take herbs like this. You cannot take herbs like this. It will not go into each of the tissues. So you need a carrier. For the carrier, we are going to use ghee. Ghee is clarified butter. Ghee. This is organic ghee. It's clarified butter. It is considered one of the foods of the gods, according to Ayurveda. Ghee, actually, I'm going to take about a teaspoon of ghee, about a teaspoon, and mix it in here. It is a carrier. It actually has a very pleasant taste. So if you guys think it's like butter and you're like, oh, I don't want to eat just butter, it actually has a really pleasant taste. It tastes very different from butter, but it's good for the lungs, good for fevers, good for TB, tuberculosis. When it's taken with herbs, it transports the energy and nutrients of those herbs to all 7 tissues. This is raw, organic honey. Raw, organic honey. I'm going to use about a teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon of raw organic honey with this mixture. Again, be careful. If you have diabetes, this can actually help combat diabetes, but take very, very little. I would say if you're going to do this mixture and you do suffer from diabetes, I would say quarter of a teaspoon of honey, just a quarter. Here's why. Because for colds, flus, and allergies, honey will lower Vata and Kapha. It's an expectorant and a laxative, which is a purgative, right? So it can help expel phlegm too. So you do want a little bit of honey. Now what I'm gonna do, if you can see this here, what I'm gonna do is just mix it up. I'm gonna mix it all up, make it into a paste. So you're gonna mix it up and make it into a paste like this. It looks kind of gross. Honestly, it will look gross. Here you go. It looks like that. And then you just eat it. You eat the whole thing and you can drink, and it tastes very pleasant. Believe me, it tastes really pleasant. And you can actually just drink some warm water afterward. That is the mixture. That is the mixture. It's going to keep the mucus away. And if you are having trouble coughing up, like if you have that dry cough and then you have trouble coughing up stuff that's stuck in the lungs, bronchial passages, it works as an expectorant. So it will actually make you spit up the stuff that you need to spit up and out. Okay? Now the next thing that I absolutely do every single day during cold, flu, and allergy season, every single day, I take a highly detoxifying tea. All this is hot water. Hot water. And this is fresh turmeric, and this is fresh ginger, and this is fresh organic lemon. Oh, and I forgot to mention, these are both organic. Absolutely. Let's look at the properties of ginger. Ginger is good for all tissues. It lowers Vata and Kapha. It can increase Pitta. It's an expectorant and stimulant, and it's a wonder drug. It is absolutely a wonder drug. Mixed with honey, it does reduce Kapha. And again, Kapha is the cause of a lot of our respiratory problems. It's a cause of a lot of our issues and problems in general. So what do we do with this tea that I take every single day? It's preventive. It will boost your immune system. It's extremely detoxifying. So if you have autoimmune issues, then I would say really take this tea only once a day. If you are asymptomatic, once a day should be fine. If you do have symptoms, you can take it up to 3 to 5 times a day. We're gonna add about a teaspoon of honey. Again, be careful if you are diabetic. If you need another sweetener alternative, you can, but at least get a little bit of the honey, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon, because it is an expectorant. I'm gonna cut up some lemon, which lemons are awesome and chock full of vitamin C. So I'm going to show you. We're just going to squeeze hot water. We're going to keep doing that. We're going to squeeze it. Good. And now we're just going to take about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of the turmeric. If you cut it open, the turmeric does look like this. It has that yellow property. Be careful. It does stain. And the same thing with the ginger. We're going to get about a tablespoon of ginger. And you do want to peel it. You definitely want to peel the ginger and also the turmeric. You don't want that skin on the outside, and here is why. I would highly recommend that after you are drinking your ginger turmeric tea with honey and lemon and hot water, I would highly recommend that you eat the ginger and the turmeric bits at the end of the cup. And you can refill the water a couple of times. It's pretty potent. So you want to make it very small. You really want to mince it. And I'm just doing a little bit here just to show you. But you want to mince it as much as you possibly can, just to make the bits pretty small. Now what you can do too, and it smells so lovely. Oh my gosh, ginger smells amazing. So you want to make the ginger bits pretty small, pretty minced, and then you're just going to put them in the hot water. Same thing with the turmeric. You want to shave off the skin of the turmeric. There we go. We're going to shave off the skin of the turmeric. And again, this is for boosting your immune system. This is at least once a day. Again, if you have a compromised immune system, do not do this more than once a day. But if you are sick just with cold, flu, allergies, and you don't have an autoimmune disorder, I would say definitely you can do this 3, 4, 5 times a day, just depending on how you feel. But it is amazing. It is an amazing detoxifier. It is an amazing for anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral. And just know that turmeric, remember, turmeric is an antibiotic. Turmeric by itself, wonder drug, is an antibiotic. Now you might be wondering, like, why the fresh ingredients and then the dry ingredients? They are just taken through different vehicles in the body. So, you know, the powdered herbs that we're taking a little bit more of in the day, they tend to be absorbed through the digestive tract. Again, that carrier with that ghee and that honey that are carried to all the tissue. This is really good, again, for different aspects. As you drink it slowly, as you're drinking it and you really want to mix this up. And you can even cover it and just let the roots, the ginger root, the turmeric root, infuse, as well as the lemon and the honey. It tastes amazing. It tastes very delicious. It's amazing. And I would say this is your detoxifier. This is your immune booster. And at least once a day, especially during this period, at least once a day. The great thing is that this is relatively affordable. Ginger's affordable, turmeric's affordable, lemons and raw honey, relatively affordable. As you can see, my fingers are a little yellow there. But I would say definitely just different vehicles. You're trying to get as much of those herbs into the tissues as possible. Now, again, when you take the hot drinks, when you take the hot tea, it serves another purpose by raising your body temperature just a little bit, causing you to sweat a little. And as you sweat, you're purging out the toxins as well. Last but not least, for Ayurvedic herbs, Triphala. Triphala is a formula with 3 herbs: Amalaki, Bibitaki, and Harataki. These are 3 Ayurvedic herbs. This is used as a purgative. It rejuvenates all the cells. It's good for all the doshas. And it is a mild laxative. It is a purgative, which means, let's read the properties. Triphala is good for all 3 doshas. It's good for constipation, diarrhea. It's good for the eyes. It's cleansing. It detoxes the colon. It's good for kapha conditions, gas, distension, diabetes, and parasites. I would say take at least 1 Triphala. You can get it at banyanbotanicals.com. At least 1 Triphala tablet per evening before you go to bed, and that is going to help keep the circulatory channels open, especially in the colon. It does work as a purgative. So there you go. Some Ayurvedic tips to keep you healthy, away from these allergies, viruses, colds, flus, and bacterial infections as well. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Stay well, stay healthy, and good luck with everything. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications, give the video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for sharing this video with others who want to also boost their immune system by natural means. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. You can buy a book or 2. You can also pledge your support on Patreon, www.patreon.com/Michelle S. Fondin, and I will see you in the next video.